Okay, we now are live, and I will call the meeting to order. First item is council information and follow-up requests. Councilman Mendoza, did you want to?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. First, I would like to thank the members of the Alicia Subdivision Neighborhood Association for coming out to our tree planting workshop this weekend at Iototo Park. They asked me to help them to improve the park, and I started by getting them trees. I would also like to thank all the volunteers that came out and our city staff for their support, and we look forward to giving them the park they deserve. Also, as a member of Public Safety Subcommittee, I toured several of our public safety facilities. In October, I met with Commander Cristina Gonzalez of the Family Investigation Bureau and Aaron Yabu of the Director of Family Advocacy Center. The Family Investigations Bureau handles some of the most important and dangerous cases: domestic violence cases, adult sex crimes, crimes against children, and missing and unidentified persons cases. The Family Advocacy Center provides comprehensive, seamless service to victims of these crimes who need resources through the city and the community. After hearing everything that the FIB and the FAC do, I was struck at how much they are accomplishing with such little resources. I saw the waiting room where victims of strangulations and victims of sexual assault wait to undergo a forensic nurse examination. The furniture was in terrible condition from years of use. I saw the interview rooms where the victims of assaults disclose what would be the worst thing that has ever happened to them. After touring the area, I connected with American Furniture Warehouse and Ashley Furniture Home Store. To say these companies rose to the occasion is an understatement. Within minutes of me reaching out, both of these amazing companies agreed to donate furniture. American Warehouse donated the new waiting room furniture and all of the furniture for the victim interview rooms. Ashley Furniture Home Store donated furniture for the front lobby. These areas are now beautiful. We cannot express our gratitude for these donations. You are truly community partners. I've asked representatives from both companies to be here, as well as Aaron Yabu and Marshall Franklin, and representatives from the FIB. Thank you for all your donations, your time, and all your work. At this point, Mayor, I would like to present these companies with certificates of appreciation for their generous donation.
How about we invite them to come up here, and we'll have our picture taken under the bird. So if you would come up and join us. Okay, you have to tell me which one.
Is that good?
Good? Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, I know. I was very worried.
The longer he looks at it, the more I'm like, is it good or not? It seems like it should be.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Phoenix is indeed a very fortunate city because we have very generous corporate sponsors and businesses, and we thank you very, very much. Councilman Stark, do you have some items?
Yes, thank you. So this morning I went to a celebration. Honor Health John C. Lincoln is teaming up with the Circle of Hope to address the issues of homelessness in Sunny Slope. I'm quite excited. I know Marcel's probably familiar with the Circle of Hope, but I'm just kind the Circle of Hope. I know you're probably familiar with it, but they had a grand kickoff today, and we're very excited to see John C. Lincoln's continued efforts in Sunny Slope.
Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. So this month, we're celebrating International Women's Day. I was honored with the opportunity to speak last Friday for the Dia del Promotor, which highlights Latina women in communities who are really such an asset and advocate for their children, very involved in schools. I was personally blessed with having a promotora in my life, who was my mom, who was involved, everything from going, to PTA meetings at the age of 5 to attending my policy meetings now at the age of 32. And also to celebrate, we have the 919 North is collaborating with the IRC to do a pop-up. That will actually also feature female entrepreneurs from all across the world. And we're also hosting, co-sponsoring an event at the Maryville YMCA. It's a Mujeres Mercado. It's really an opportunity for networking and get to know and meet other Latina entrepreneurs. And that's this Saturday at the Maryville Family YMCA starting at 10 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to start off by thanking the mayor and Councilmember Mendoza for helping out with the 39th Avenue and Southern Light. One of the things that people have been having problems is that crossing the street. We have such a busy Southern Avenue that tonight we're going to be meeting with the Cash community to really talk about putting in a traffic light or not. So, Mayor, I want to thank you for your hard work, and also Councilmember Mendoza for everything you've done to help this process out. And also, I'd like to invite everybody who lives out in the Levine area around 39th Avenue and Southern to come on down to Cash Elementary. That's right off of 3851 West Rozier, and come listen and give some input. Also, we'd like you to all join District 7 and 8 for a Take Back Your Neighborhood Day. We're going to have it at the Phoenix Police Academy from 9 in the morning to 11 o'clock in the morning. You can meet with the police chief, with the commanders of your different precincts that you live in. You're going to take a tour of the academy, get to see what a police officer goes through, and also get all kinds of information and resources for your neighborhoods, from graffiti busters, blight busters, to all the different resources that we have here in the city of Phoenix that communities can benefit to take back your neighborhoods. Also, bring your children. And we're going to have the firefighters out there with a truck that's interactive games and stuff like that. So it's really an event for the whole family, but it's really important about learning about what tools, what gifts we have that we can give back to our community and make sure that we take it back. On March 9th, we're inviting everybody to the vision for the South Central Light Rail Corridor. It's going to be at the George Washington Carver Museum. That's from 9 until 12. That's this coming Saturday. I went to the event last night. Incredible. It's an opportunity to really look at the South Central Light Rail Corridor and let us know. Let us know what's so special about the Warehouse District, what's so special about Central Phoenix, what's so special about South Phoenix that has to stay. It's a part of history that we want to make sure that generations to come are involved in. Also, what's really important is to find out what the future we'd like to see there, for our grandchildren and for our children. So come and be visionaries. Come help us guide the future for what we see can happen with the light rail. And finally, a lot of people have been part of the Code of Conduct meetings that we've been having. So we're going to have 2 of them to update everyone on what we found. And basically on March 13th at 6 p.m. at the Burton Bar Library, we're going to have an update on the Code of Conduct from the Parks Director and the Parks Department, and also on March 19th at the South Mountain Community Center. So we encourage everyone to come up and get the update of what happened with the Code of Conduct and all the information that we gathered throughout the city. So once again, thank you all, and thanks for all those individuals that participate in all these meetings and making our city great.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I want to tell a little bit about Councilwoman Pastor and I's trip to Hermosillo last week. Chris Mackey led, it was an economic development trip. We met with their mayor, who told everyone that although we're sister cities, Phoenix is the big sister, they're the infant. And we had representatives there from the city of Phoenix that specialize in water and in public works. And one of the things that they're interested in is a street sweeper. I just want you to know that the new mayor tried to implement garbage pickup at $6 a year, and the community come unglued. They would not pay that. So she was challenging our staff for ideas on how she could still implement such a service and get paid for it. And they have a real lack of water meters. So she has some real challenges to overcome. But she was asking a million questions. Her staff was very involved, and I was so proud of the Phoenix staff that went. They excelled. They represented the city of Phoenix in the most wonderful fashion. They were friendly, they were experts, and they were so easy to communicate with. I know her staff was most appreciated them, as well as the mayor did. And we had a seminar that they had put out that how to do business in Phoenix. And they had invited 125 people, 175 RSVP'd, and over 300 attended. So it took staff, instead of an hour, it took 4 hours, and it was almost 10 o'clock at night, and they finally said, we just have to go at this point. We'll send you information. So I really want to commend them for putting in all that extra time. And then on Saturday, I attended the Animal Welfare League. It was a great event, big fundraiser. They are very good at the largest and oldest animal rescue agency in the city of Phoenix. I come close to going home with 2 puppies until I learned one was half German Shepherd and half Mastiff. And I looked at the size of those feet, and they filled my hand, and I thought, oh, and they're only 4 months old. I don't think I could ever afford to feed them. So anyway, for District 1, upcoming events, Cactus Wren neighborhood is having its 50th anniversary and bike rodeo. It will be at the Cactus Wren Elementary School, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to have carnivals, food vendors, police, fire, and streets, as well as the bike rodeo. And I know we will be raffling off 2 bicycles for juveniles, so I encourage everyone to attend. And then on Saturday, April 6th, you don't want to miss the Family Fishing Day at Cortez Park. We are partnering again with Arizona Game and Fish and Phoenix Police, and we will teach you how to fish and catch and cook your fish. So, and we provide the first 100 with fishing license. So we want you to come. They guaranteed us there will be plenty of fish in the lake, so it should be a very fun event. That's all I have for today, so we will take it. Do we have a consent? No consent today, or executive session? No? You're getting off easy today. Reports by the city manager.
Mayor, most of the agenda is about budget, so I will, if you're okay, we'll go straight to those reports.
Okay, we'll go straight to item 1, 5-year general fund forecast. It sounds like Jeff will be on board.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, thank you for having us here. This is the start of our budget cycle for fiscal year 1920, which starts July 1 of this year. We start today with a 5-year forecast and also a budget status. And I first want to thank our Budget and Research Director, Jeff Barton, and his staff for the work they've done to prepare it. On phoenix.gov/budget, or it's available in hard copy at the city, is the report we sent this week that has a lot of really good and detailed information, including the forecast, the assumptions, and then new this year, Jeff will talk about the stress testing that he's undertaken on our budget. I would just give an overview, which is there's really good news here that we want to talk about, which is, first of all, we have a structurally balanced budget as we look forward, where our ongoing known revenues match our ongoing known expenses. We always want to be mindful of that, but this is a great place to be as compared to where we have been in the last several years, and that's due to a great deal of effort that you all have put into setting a direction of becoming structurally balanced. We have some resources available for responsible restoration of programs and sustainable employee compensation. And we're currently in negotiation with our labor unions on that, and we will talk next week or in 2 weeks at the trial budget about what sorts of programs we might want to talk to the community about adding. This is all in light, however, that we have to have a continued commitment to funding pension reserves, funding our pension obligations, and our contingency fund that prepare us for any future economic stress. As Jeff will talk about, nobody knows when there will be a recession, but they know that there will be one. And so trying to manage that and guess that is part of the work we're doing. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Budget and Research Director, Jeff Barton, who will walk us through the presentation. We're happy to take any questions you have at the end or during the presentation. So with that, I'll turn it over to Jeff.
Mayor, members of the council, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here today. As Ed mentioned, today we're talking about the 5-year forecast, and this is the initial salvo in our budget development process. So over the coming months, I'll be here pretty much on a monthly basis, and we'll go through the various steps until we ultimately arrive at that adopted budget in late June. But today, again, we're going to focus on our 5-year forecast. And again, remember, the 5-year forecast it's not a policy document. This is really designed to give you additional information as we make some long-term financial decisions relative to services, relative to our employee compensation. So what I'm going to do today is walk you through a few things. First of which, we're going to talk about the 5-year forecast, the purpose, the overview, why we do it, how we design it. I'm also going to talk to you very detailed level, but high enough level so I don't bore you all to death about our revenue assumptions as well as our expenditure assumptions. And then we'll wrap up with our budget calendar and the next steps that we'll go through going through this budget adoption process. Again, the 5-year forecast is something we've been doing for 8 years now, and it is a financial best practice. We take great pride in this. It's also something that's recognized by both the ICMA and the GFOA as we go through our process. And we are the recipients of the GFOA Distinguished Budget Award for over 25 years. We've gotten that award for our presentation and our openness and our transparency. Again, this document, what we're doing here today is providing you with additional information that provides the framework for us to adopt our legally required budget. Again, we have to adopt a balanced budget. Unlike our friends at the federal level, that budget is required to be balanced by both state statute and city charter. We also use this document to help you make those strategic decisions and to help protect the resources and the services that we provide to our residents. And again, just to remind you, because I know this was something that Councilman Waring takes great pride in, eliciting this piece of it, we continue to work very closely with the University of Arizona, specifically with Dr. George Hammond, who helps us maintain and update our econometric model that we use to develop our revenue forecasts. So again, what is the 5-year forecast? Again, it's a long-range planning tool, and I will tell you here today, we've been doing this 5-year forecast, like I said, for 8 years. Next year, I may lobby you to do a 3-year forecast. A lot of entities have gotten away from doing a 5-year, and I mentioned that to you last year, because the further and further you go out from your first year, you're relying so heavily on some assumptions that could vary and change widely, which is why you see such a huge range in years 3, 4, and 5. But we'll cross that bridge next year when we get to it. So the basic understanding of the 5-year forecast, it's a simple formula. So we have total resources available to us, less our expenditures, and that equals either a surplus or a deficit. Obviously, if we have a surplus, that means we have more resources available than we have expense, and that gives us the opportunity to address employee compensation and services to our residents. If we have a shortfall, that means we have to make some choices in terms of, do we continue that level of service, or do we bring new revenue to the table? So when we talk about resources, we're talking about our taxes, we're talking about fees and charges, we're also talking about interest, we're talking about transfers and recoveries. So transfers would be money coming into the general fund from the enterprise, for example, for them paying for their fair share of general fund service. An example would be the officers at the airport and the aviation department paying for those officers. We also have recoveries. Those would be when we liquidate a contract after the contract's been satisfied, and those funds, what's left in that contract comes back to the general fund. And then we also have our beginning and ending fund balance. On the expenditure side, we have our employee costs. That includes everything from salary, wage, to all the benefits, inclusive of pension. We also have the services that we provide our residents. We've got our capital equipment and repair for maintaining the infrastructure and the vehicles that we have. And then our contingency fund, we budget as an expense so that we can account for it and maintain it. So again, we have extra money, that means we have new money for new or expanded programs and services. It also means that, like this year, we can negotiate with our employee groups for some level of compensation change. But again, if we were to have a deficit, we'd be talking about reductions to existing services or programs or net new revenue. So what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to start with our revenues. So I'm going to overlay for you kind of this forecast is predicated on a series of revenue and expenditure assumptions, and we'll start with our revenue assumptions. First, the forecast assumes no future fee increases or decreases and no new sources of revenue. So any increases that you see in a particular line item of revenue, that's strictly organic, and it's driven largely by the economy and just overall growth in the economy and the health of the economy. Our annual revenues are, again, those growth rates that we're using are based on our econometric model, and they are in line with what our peers are using because we see that as part of our work with the University of Arizona. I'm also not modeling a recession in the baseline forecast, which is what we're really presenting here for you today. But as the city manager mentioned at the end of today's presentation, I will kind of walk you through a stress test because I think it's important that we do that, and we just haven't done it ever before in the city. So I want to shock the revenues and show you the volatility that we could see if we were to see a slowdown. Again, we continue to maximize the primary property tax. That's at your direction. So what that means to you, translated in layman's terms, the primary property tax is $1 plus the cost to administer library. What you'll see over the 5-year forecast, though, is currently in this fiscal year, our primary property tax rate is about $1.32. Over the forecast, we expect that primary rate will drop down to roughly $1.27. So it's going to come down by about 5 cents. We will levy and collect additional resources because of assessed valuation growth, as well as new construction. And again, we're not modeling any negative impact to state shared revenue based on any legislative action. Also of note here, we would theoretically see an impact of the Census 2020 in fiscal year 21-22. That could be a positive or negative shift depending upon how Phoenix is represented in that 2020 census. So again, let's dive in a little bit of detail on our revenues. So first, we'll talk about local sales and excise tax. So again, just kind of broad categories. What's included in those types of activities would be, restaurants and bars. It would be contracting. It would be residential and commercial property rentals. Those would be some examples of what's in there. Telecommunications. So for next year, we're expecting about $505 million of revenue to come in through that particular line, and that's about a 4.8% growth. Over the life of the forecast, we're assuming roughly 3.8 to 5% growth. So this would be on the upper end of what we're expecting as far as that. One thing I'd also note here, we got our CFO over there. Right now, we're paying the state to collect city sales tax. In the current fiscal year, we're paying the state about $3.9 million. Next year, we'll be paying them $4.4 million. So there's about a $500,000 increase in that collection. Next, we've got state shared revenue, and that's about $464 million estimated for next fiscal year. And the growth rate that we're assuming there is about 7.3%. Over the life of the forecast, it's roughly 4.5 to about that high right there. And I know, Councilman Waring, that probably makes you cringe, that 7.3, because it looks like a very large number. But I'll break down kind of for you where most of that is coming from. So within state sales, within the state shared revenue category, we've got state sales tax. They collect basically the exact same activities that we collect at the city level. And so there we're estimating about a 5.1% growth over the current fiscal year, and that's in line with kind of what we're collecting right now. The other big ticket item that's driving that growth rate up so high is our income tax. And for next fiscal year, we're expecting our income tax to grow about 9.3% over current year collections. And remember, income tax is something that the state collects and shares with cities and towns 2 years in arrears. So we already know what that number is. So we can rest assured that the 9.1, I'm not out on a limb by myself. And then the final item that makes that up is vehicle license tax. So over the years, through the recession, we saw vehicle license tax kind of dip and then flatten out. Now that we're coming out of that, you're starting to see people buy cars again. And so we've got a lot of growth in that category. I don't expect that growth to continue on that upward trend. Eventually, it's going to flatten out, and that's kind of what we modeled in our 5-year forecast. Then on primary property tax, as I mentioned to you, we continue the notion of maximizing the primary property tax. So next fiscal year, we expect our primary property tax levy and collections to be about $169 million. Now this is reflecting true revenue, so it accounts for uncollected debt, so those that don't pay their property tax. And that's about a 4.7% growth. So again, we are expecting the levy to grow. We will levy more, collect more, but the rate will come down. And the rate is coming down, but assessed valuations go up, so our collections will actually increase. Then on user fees, we're expecting about $133 million there, and that's about a 1% growth factor. So this is the revenue that's generally collected by our departments, and I'll give you 2 examples, and they're both in fire. Hazmat revenue, they collect about $1.5 million a year out of hazmat for permitting, and then another one would be their emergency ambulance transportation, their ambulance billings. That's about a $35 to $37 million a year operation. That's reflected in there. Then we've got our beginning fund balance. We're expecting that we'll begin next fiscal year with about a $114 million general fund balance. The growth rate doesn't apply because that's based on our estimated year-end spending for this fiscal year. And then finally, transfers and recoveries, we're estimating about $12 million there. And again, the growth factor does not necessarily apply. And so in total, our general fund resources for next fiscal year are $1.397 billion, so that's just shy of $1.4 billion. Overall bottom line growth factor on our revenues is 3.9%. Next, we'll move on to expenditures. So our assumptions on expenditures are that our operating growth expenditures are based on roughly CPI in our historical spending, which is between 1% and 2.5% a year. And I'll speak to that on a slide a little bit later in this presentation. And then our pension costs are based on our latest actuarial information, and for PSPRS, that means a 25-year amortization that you adopted as council last fiscal year. And then our compensation costs are currently based on the existing labor contracts, which expire this fiscal year. And again, staff is currently underway negotiations for fiscal year 1920 and beyond. This forecast also includes some significant investments in areas that we consciously made those investments. For example, this year, in the current year budget, remember we included a $7 million allocation for general fund facilities. I've perpetuated that throughout the 5-year forecast. The other thing I've done in this forecast is you'll hear a little bit in the next presentation, and you've heard over the last couple of months how we are as far as public safety vehicles. So in this 5-year forecast and each year thereof, I have increased our general fund vehicle replacement program to $20 million. That's a $7 million increase. $15 million of that $20 million, or 75%, is being allocated to public safety in addressing police and fire vehicles. The forecast also includes the body-worn camera program that you authorized a couple weeks ago with police, so that's an additional $2 million that's built into this forecast on an ongoing basis. And then, again, we're trying to maintain that contingency fund. That was something that this council set as a priority in previous years, and we're continuing to maintain that at 4% right now. To do that, the contingency has to grow by roughly $2 to $4 million a year, depending upon our expenditures. So what I want to do now is again, I mentioned to you that our historical growth rates that we're using on expenditures is based on history and what we've seen. So this slide shows you what our non-pension operating expenditures have been. So this is general fund operating expenditures plus our capital expenditures that are general fund. And you can see the growth there is fairly minor. We've managed to control that. You've set the tone, and we've listened, and we're working at it. So you can see, other than fiscal year 17-18, which was last year, you've had very small increases. And that 3.2% increase in 17-18 is largely driven by the second year of a restoration contract for our employees. On the flip side, this is our general fund pension costs over that same time frame. So you can see there's quite a bit of a difference between the non-pension costs, which again we have great control over, and I think most departments hate to see me and my staff come at 3+9 because we make sure that those costs are as low as they possibly can be. But our pension costs, as you can see, have grown from 9.8% in 13-14 to 19.8% last fiscal year. A little bit more on pension. So our general fund forecast for pension, again, based on the actuarial reports that we're using and applying that to our projected payrolls, you see that our COPERS costs are expected to increase by $7 million over the next 5 years. And that is largely, again, that cost has been muted over the years because of the significant pension reform measures that you as the council and our community have taken. And so those costs are, they're minor compared to what they have been in the past. This next bars, what these show are our general fund sworn pension costs. So public safety pension costs will go from $211 million next fiscal year to roughly $239 million in fiscal year 23-24. So that's almost a $30 million increase in 5 years. And again, they have taken measures and steps toward pension reform. They just started a little bit after we did. So it's going to take them, I think, a little bit longer before they see the benefit of pension reform. So when I piece everything together, again, next fiscal year, we have more than a balanced budget. We have a $55 million surplus. What I've explained to you in briefings and in other conversations is that this year we're breaking that surplus down into 2 distinct pots for you, because we want to isolate out how much is ongoing, how much can sustain ongoing programs versus how much of it's one time. So of that $55 million, $35 million is ongoing, and I've perpetuated that throughout the duration of the forecast. $20 million, though, is one-time in nature and can only be spent one time on one-time items. And I'll fast forward through these really quickly. The purpose here is just to show you that this forecast looks better than it has in prior years, and I think that's a testament, again, to your hard work and the hard work of city staff all across the organization. The midpoint or the middle of each of these forecasts is a balanced budget, and in some years there's a surplus. But as I've mentioned to you, I focus on the first 2 years. Years 3, 4, and 5, I don't put a great deal of stock in just because there are so many variables, particularly as they pertain to pension and other costs like that, electricity and things of that nature. And as far as also the change in the economy, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So as Ed mentioned, we do have a structurally balanced budget, and I want to show you what that looks like graphically. So what we've done on this slide is I've taken true revenue, not fund balance, just the amount of money that comes in through those various categories that I walked you through earlier, and that's what it looks like. So I've shown you a couple years of actuals from 13-14 through last fiscal year. The dotted portion of that line shows you what our projected revenue collections are. And again, that's true revenue, not fund balance. Now this slide shows you, this portion of the line graph shows you the expenditures, and it shows you true expenditures. This is the projected expenditures based on the growth rates that we've used, and I've backed out of it the contingency fund because, again, we don't expect to spend the contingency. I wanted to show you true expense versus true revenue, and you can see that we have enough resource to afford the services that we're currently offering. So we are structurally balanced from that perspective. Next, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a recession and some stress testing. Again, the 5-year forecast itself does not include a recession, but I think we would be remiss if we don't talk about one. Recently, the Wall Street Journal, and this is included in your packet, surveyed 60 nationally renowned economists. 2/3 of them recognized that within the next 18 to 24 months, we'd see some level of softening in the economy. Whether that's a full-fledged recession or not, they acknowledge that something will change within that window. The other thing, and this is more geeky talk from me and Denise, is there's a notion of the inverted yield curve. So the yield curve, typically when you invest long, you make more money. When you invest short, you make less. The yield curve inverted on December 3rd, 2018, which means if I invest short, I make more than I do investing long. That generally shows itself prior to a slowdown, usually 18 to 24 months. The first time that yield curve has inverted since the Great Recession was on December 3rd, 2018. So again, just kind of keep that in your mind. And I thought this quote was really appropriate given what I'm going to talk to you about next. And this comes from the Harvard Business Review, and it states that the ability to weather storms depends on how seriously executives take risk management when the sun is shining and no clouds are on the horizon. Well, today we sit here with a $55 million surplus, the sun's shining, but it could change, and that's what I want to talk to you about. So the Great Recession was almost a decade ago. Started in December of 2007, ended in June of 2009. And again, we shouldn't be afraid of recessions. They're a normal part of the economic cycle. They're a normal part of day-to-day operations. The stress test that I'm going to talk to you about today is really an analysis or an instrument that I'm using to show you the impact of a series of assumptions on revenues. For you, I've modeled two distinctly different scenarios. One is a moderate recession that affects revenue by -1% for 2 fiscal years, starting in fiscal year 2021. And the second model is a severe recession. That's a 3% decline starting in 2021 that lasts for 3 fiscal years. Now, that's very conservative. And to illustrate that, I add that during the Great Recession, our bottom line revenue growth was -4% for most of the recession. Local sales tax, at its worst point, was -10. State shared was -13. So again, this is fairly conservative, but it illustrates a point. All other assumptions in the forecast remain the same on expenditures. This is really a shock to the revenues. So again, what this is going to reflect is the impact of 2 hypothetical recessions that start in fiscal year 2021. So here's the 5-year forecast as presented from 2021 through 23-24, and this is consistent with what I showed you earlier. Now here is what it looks like if we lose revenues at 1% starting in 2021. So instead of a -10 to +14 for fiscal year 2021, we'd have a -71 to a -47. Then that continues to -47 to -2 for the second year, and then we work our way out years 4 and 5 of the forecast. The severe recession, or a 3% decline, it shows that instead of -10 to +14, you're -93 to -68 in year 1. Year 2, -69 to -25, and you can see the rest. And I say this to you not to scare you, not to scare our residents, and not to ask you for cuts. This is just really to illustrate a point. It's to illustrate the importance of maintaining healthy reserves, and this council has done a great job at doing that. You've told us to grow the contingency. We've done that. We created the Public Safety Stabilization Fund last year with $25 million. At the end of the fiscal year, the beginning of this fiscal year, you transferred another $10 million into that fund. So that's $35 million that we have in the Pension Stabilization Fund. So next fiscal year, with the reserve, the contingency, plus the stabilization fund, we have $90 million in general fund budgetary basis reserve to deal with any potential recession or short-term impairment that we may see. And again, what this is designed to do also is just to provide you with additional information as we make long-term commitments. So let's just be mindful of what we're committing to and be mindful of what could come down the road as we go through this 5-year forecast. I don't want to end on a sour note, so I'm going to bring you back to our $55 million surplus that we're talking about for next fiscal year. Again, $35 million of that is ongoing and would sustain ongoing new or expanded services to our residents, or some level of compensation to our employees. And $20 million can be used one time to do those same things. And again, we are structurally balanced. The next step in our budget process, I will be back in 2 weeks with the trial budget on March 19th. Our budget hearings are posted online. We've got them mapped out on the website, and the information's in the packet. They start April 2nd and then April 18th. And then I come back after that with the city manager's recommended budget on May 7th. Then on May 22nd, we have our first vote on the budget. That's the council budget decision. And then in June, on June 5th and June 19th, we have the legal adoption process, tentative and final adoption. And then we come back in July on the 3rd with our property tax ordinance adoption. And that concludes my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do we have questions, Councilman DeCiccio?
Oh, more of a comment than one question. Jeff, this is one of the most comprehensive presentations I've seen. Thank you for that. It was that good. It was that comprehensive. Ed, congratulations with your staff on this. I mean, you've done a good job, a phenomenal job, not a good one, a phenomenal job of putting this together. That information plus some of the information we got today was just, I think the more information we put out there, the better informed the public is. The better informed the public is, the better our decisions are going to be. So thanks for that. The other thing that with the property tax, one of the things you may want to mention too is that I think there's an 18-month lag in there, so that gives us false readings going forward if we ever did hit a recession.
It does, Councilman. We've got some very sophisticated staff in my department that over the years, they've developed some methodology that allows them to actually look at permits and permit valuations, and so they can kind of actually project when that's going to occur too from that perspective. And we've actually just started looking into that even more.
That's perfect. And then the sales tax represents, some time ago it was around 42% of all our revenues. Are we still pretty close to that? Or where are we?
Yeah, somewhere around there, I think. We're talking about between those two pots, like I said, if you go back to that slide, I'll go back to it real quick here. We've got roughly $500 million in city sales tax collections, and then another 500 roughly, so to speak, in state shared revenue, but only a portion of that is actually sales tax collections, so about probably 150 million or so, I think, maybe a little more.
I mean, more than anything then, because the variables that are impacting all of the tax, it's all based on, it's all impacted by the economy. And it's all variable, depending on what's outside.
It's truly based on discretionary income. I mean,
Yeah,
again, when the economy tanks and your ability to buy an extra car or spend a little more frivolously in certain areas, that's the first thing to go, right? And
Or like
so-
a refrigerator. We just bought a refrigerator. It's a big ticket item, but you don't buy it but every
Right.
a certain amount of years.
Right.
Depending on the tariff taxes too. They're holding a whole bunch of refrigerators and washing machines and all those things offshore still, waiting for the tariffs to be, for real, that's all occurring. Just giving you a thought. But I didn't mean to just have a distraction on that. But bottom line is, I think you put up a very compelling case that we need to really increase our reserves, because you just never know what's going to happen in the future. And even a 1% drop, I would say that's insanely conservative. And I'm glad you put it out there, because it gives us at least a perspective if there's a slowdown in the economy. And you're right about that, about 3%. We were about 4 or 5% at one time. The sales tax, I didn't realize, was hitting 10% drop. That just shows how much discretionary income's out there. But no, that was really well done. Thanks for doing that, Jeff.
Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I have some questions and would like to request more information. On page 7, there's a section that details some cost increases not within our control. One of the things it talks about is the cost to incarcerate people at MCSO. I understand that the per diem is charged by the sheriff's office, and it goes up about every year. And I think it's worth looking into the part of this equation that is within our control, and that's how many people we book into MCSO custody every year. So I'd like to request that staff put some information together for council that details the following: who we're booking into jail, so how many on felony charges versus misdemeanors, and specifically which types of misdemeanor charges. Potential action the city can take to reduce the amount of money we spend on booking costs every year, including expanding video court and expanding the use of cite and release. And if possible, some information about how much time sworn officers spend booking people every year and the impact that has on people power and response times. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Any other? We do have cards. Jason Stokes?
Mayor and members of the council, Jason Stokes. I'm president of Aspetia. I'm beginning my 27th year as an employee here at the City of Phoenix. And the projections that Mr. Barton has put out, are a whole lot better than we've seen in a long time. I would like to, I heard several times in the presentation, that we've gotten out of the recession. As a city employee with a long tenure, I'll tell you about half of your workforce hasn't. About half of us have not seen a cost of living increase in over a decade. And so for us, the recession isn't over. There is no buying a second car. There is not buying a top-end refrigerator. And we're starting to see that seep over into other areas. Employees being hired in at the top step, where they will not see a cost of living increase either, because we cannot recruit and retain. And so I would ask the council, as the budget goes forward, as negotiations go forward, that to give a long, hard look at what's happened to the workforce here in the city of Phoenix, and do we want to maintain a quality, knowledgeable workforce, and how do you get that? and do we want to reward? The other thing that we need to take a look at is some of the services. When I look at the, what, 2/3 of our libraries aren't open 7 days a week. I don't think any of them are open a whole day, 7 days a week. Reductions in park staff, the amount of work hours with the reduction in employees that we've had over the last decade. And so what you have is you still have quality work. Mr. Barton's staff has demonstrated that for you once again, but that's requiring numerous hours that go above and beyond, and in most cases are not compensated. So we'd really like that for you to keep in mind the employees that got the city here and keep the city here along with your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Greta Rogers, and I think they're bringing a microphone to you.
Thank
6
you.
minutes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Greta Rogers. I had a long telephone meeting with Jeff Barton a day or two ago with regard to this planning for the budget for the next fiscal year. And my comments will be with regard to things that need to be considered and or reconsidered by this council. The facts are that in the fiscal year 18-19, the total dollars passed by council for the budget was $4.4 billion. We've now entered the last third of this fiscal year with approximately, according to Jeff, 55 mil balance forward, 35 mil for the general fund in budgeted costs, and 20 mil for one-time expenditures, which can and do include 1, deferred maintenance, 2, vehicles, 3, compensation raises, agreed and effective upon 7/1/18, or in labor negotiations. We're now planning for 2019 and 2020, and this 55 million balance remaining to 7/1/19 is 12.5% the total of the $4.4 billion budget originally passed. That's a very good use and careful managing of our funds. The city has more income today than in its history, therefore has an obligation to plan, budget, and allocate funds strategically to provide adequately for the city's #1 obligation to us, who are the city. We are the city. The city is not inanimate. The first obligation is public health and safety, and the charter affirms that. A responsible and dependable level of health and safety delivery to the entire city. 2, to negotiate equitable and market fair compensation, which I shall come back to. That is affordable to assure best practice for the assurance and delivery of good, best quality governing practice and service to the citizens who are the city. I can't emphasize that enough to you. The city is not inanimate. It is alive, and it's alive because we and several million more of us are living here. The primary and only source of funding is from us. No funds are produced by a street, a bus, a water department, a library, or anything else. It's all done because of citizens' efforts and work. And we all exist and operate from taxes paid, fees for service paid, and miscellaneous fees paid for product or service received. Without citizens, there would be no government. It wouldn't be necessary. Plants, and animals don't have government. Remember this. We are the fund producers and providers. With regard to the city, especially public safety vehicles, a 29 or 30-year career fireman, whom I've known 15 or 20 years in a personal way, called me in January after comments I made at a December or early January council meeting with regard to City of Phoenix best service obligation to the citizenry. He told me Phoenix Fire Department is operating with trucks, that is pumpers, that are 15 to 20 years old, many with 250,000 or more miles on them. I asked if parts were still available for these older models, and he didn't know specifically, but he thinks they are because they seem to get fixed. But he told me a most disturbing fact. In the latter half of 18, PFD, all employees, all stations, received a notice from City Hall not to drive these old trucks more than 30 miles per hour to a call, i.e. an emergency, not for a ride in the park. This is the epitome of irresponsibility not to arrive at a call within the nationally accepted time frame to address and to protect. An emergency is, by definition, not for a casual ride. This is appalling and intolerable. This could border on a criminal negligence suit against the City of Phoenix by a recipient of service.
Thank you.
I asked the caller what a truck cost. He didn't know. He asked others at the station crew the day he called me, and one member opined $250 to $500K for a truck. When I asked Jeff Barton, the BNR director, he told me the following based on current market costs. An ambulance is $250,000. A pumper fire truck, $650,000. A ladder truck, $1.5 million to $2 million. There is operational need now for serious replacement of dollars budgeted in 1920 and forward for PFD and PPD outdated vehicles.
Thank you.
Therefore, the new budget will propose a $13 million to $20 million increase from 1819 for PFD to PPD.
Thank you.
I
Greta.
don't know if this is sufficient or not, but this is an emergency and you have got to address it intelligently. You have an obligation to do that to and for all of us, and nothing less than that.
Thank you very much.
I'm not finished.
Well, your time is up.
The largest budget item the city has is employee compensation and benefits. Fair and equitable are essential here, as they are with any employee and employer relationship. Thank you, be thoughtful, and be diligent.
Thank you. Frank Piccioli?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Frank Piccioli. I am president of AFSCME Local 2960. We represent 2,000 city employees. Just as some reminders when you look at the budget, there's been no general raise for nearly a decade for city employees. And before we talk about merit increases, keep in mind my unit and most have at least 40 to 50% of their members maxed out, meaning they get no merit increase. So they've gone 8 to 10 years without a raise at all. So while the country has prospered, the employees have suffered. I know there's going to be the general discussion on pension costs as well. But understand, as the budget showed, the civilians have done their job in reducing pension increases. We've reformed our pensions, and it shows. New employees now pay 11% of their salary into a pension. I also want you to keep in mind, we have dozens of employees making $15 an hour and under. I didn't even realize it at the time, but we have police aides, which work alongside our officers at the station, making $11.82 an hour. Take 11% out of their paycheck, and they're literally earning below the state minimum wage. There's no excuse for this in the city of Phoenix, for employees to have this many people earn $15 or less an hour. We have done our duty. 8 years of concessions, 8 years without a raise. It is now time for City Council and the mayor to do their duty and give us a pay raise that's substantial and shows that you care about the city employees. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the cards I have. No further comment. We will go to item 2. And I want to make a couple comments first. This is something that when I become mayor, I said I wanted to focus on 2 areas, public safety and streets. And we were able to get some extra funding for streets. We're still looking for more, but this has been an ongoing challenge that we have. And I am very committed that if we are hiring additional public safety employees, and our existing employees need to have safe, healthy, sizable facilities to work in and out of. And we have some critical areas that definitely need attention. Now, I know there are people in the audience that are very interested in other areas, perhaps doing a bond. I want to tell you, the next mayor in 2 weeks can probably take up that. We have done in-depth research on public safety. We have not in any other area. What we're doing today, I hopefully does not preclude any other things being part of a package. It's just I promise to focus on public safety, and that's what we're doing today. So with that, I'll turn that over to Milton. Are you kicking it off?
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. We have a full team here to continue our discussion with you today. To my right, Budget Director Jeff Barton, CFO Denise Olson, Chief Jerry Williams, Chief Kara Cockbrenner, and from the City Manager's office, Art Fairbanks. We have had initial dialogue with you on several occasions regarding public safety infrastructure. During the calendar year 2018, we engaged you on 6 different occasions. On the screen, you see those meetings listed out in chronological order. There were 2 meetings with the Public Safety and Veterans Subcommittee. There were 2 work study sessions. There was a discussion at a council policy meeting in October, and then a few weeks after that, additional discussion back within the subcommittee. This is a snapshot of the capital needs as outlined by the police department. Headlining the list is a need for a new police headquarters. They're currently working out of a facility that's 45 years old. And the numbers that you're seeing on the screen, we are presenting a range of estimated costs for each category of need. Below the headquarters, there is a need for 2 replacement precincts, one at Cactus Park and one in Maryvale. There's also a need for an upgrade to our vehicle fleet, and then also the aerial fleet. Our aerial fleet is used for rescues, for transport, and for additional field support. The bottom line numbers of those categories of need are $354 to $490 million. A quick view of the fire department capital needs, headlined by a need for a new Station 70. The new Station 70 would be at 39th Avenue in Cactus. Replacement stations 7 and 13. 7 is at 4th Street in Hatcher, and 13 is at 47th Place, just south of Thomas Road. Both chiefs in prior presentations have outlined the need for a new joint operations center to help us support the ongoing activities and events that take place in downtown Phoenix. We are currently working with a computer-aided dispatch system that's over a quarter century old, And the numbers on the screen represent the Phoenix portion of the total cost. The additional jurisdictions that we dispatch for would also share in the cost for replacement. And then additionally, there's fleet needs for the fire department. Chief Kalkbrenner tends to be very strategic in her thinking. Her and her team have a number of additional projects that are on the drawing board. At the bottom of the slide, you see some needs for 4 new fire stations and 1 additional replacement station. Those stations, however, are not captured in the numbers at the top of the slide, but that is what's on the fire department's drawing board. So when you put the capital needs together from both police and fire, we have $449 to $613 million worth of capital needs. I should point out that the operating costs that would be necessary for the erection of new structures are not captured in those numbers. And so that adds another $17 to $19 million. And should we decide down the road to do a bond program, the 17 to 19 is not captured in there. And next, to deal with possible funding sources, I turn it over to CFO Denise Olson.
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. So every year we look at possible funding sources for various capital projects. Some of the things that we look at include impact fees. However, impact fees are for growth-related projects, and really that's happened mostly in the north and south part of the city.
And my understanding of the new laws under the impact fees, they can only be used for the facilities. You can't replace vehicles, or can you?
Yes, Mayor, City Council, Councilwoman Stark, I believe that's the case. The other thing is, you know, in the past we have used impact fees for fire stations, but they have to be for a development area. So overall, these fees are fairly restrictive in their use. The second thing that we look at is miscellaneous one-time funds, which include proceeds from land sales. We've worked with the Budget and Research Department, and we've identified about $13 million of funds that we could use towards capital projects, which is not even close to the $449 million that Milton just alluded to. We also look at new revenue sources, but right now that is not an option. So really, when we're looking at a large capital program like we're talking about today, we look at general obligation bonds. And so the whole purpose of a general obligation bond program is to fund public infrastructure. It's repaid with secondary property tax, and because of that, it's voted on by the citizens in a general election. Per state law, the general election has to be in November. So now I want to talk a little bit about the history of general obligation bonds in the city of Phoenix. One really good practice is to have periodic bond programs. And so if you look in the 1970s and the 1980s, you can see that we had bond programs every 2 or 3 years. And that way we were able to maintain our infrastructure and also support growth. More recently, though, we've had fewer bond programs, and they happen to be larger because we've had a lot of pent-up needs as far as our capital programs. Our last bond program was in 2006, and we issued $878.5 million, and that funded 160 projects. So since 1957, we've had 12 bond programs. The average years in between those programs is about 5 years, and in total, we've issued $4.6 billion of debt. Next, I want to show you a list of some of the capital projects that we funded with these bond programs. One thing that I want to point out is a lot of the things on this list, including the 620 Police Headquarters, was on the list that Milton just presented on things that need to be replaced. A lot of these things that were funded with the 1960s bond programs have come to the end of their useful lives, and we need to replace those facilities. All right, so this is my favorite slide. We get into the numbers. We start talking about what is our existing debt service and what is our existing debt outstanding. So as I mentioned, we've issued $4.6 billion of debt to date. Of that amount, we have about $1.1 billion of debt outstanding. So in 2019, Our debt service payment amounts to about $117 million, and again, that's supported by secondary property taxes. If you look over the next 8 years, you can see the debt service payments continue to increase slightly. I just want to point out that right now, our secondary, or our property taxes can support those debt service payments. Now, in 2028, though, our debt, the $1 billion of debt is significantly paid off. And so that really opens up a lot of capacity in our general obligation bond program. So our debt service payments go from being over $140 million to down to $40 million. And in 2035, our debt is completely paid off. We've done a lot of analysis in the finance department, and given that we can't wait for the next 10 years to issue a bond program, we've done different scenarios where we've structured debt so that we put less upfront and put more in the back end to try to keep it affordable for our taxpayers. But one thing I want to point out is if we do a bond program in 2020, there will be an increase to property taxes in the short run.
Jeff, didn't you say property taxes would probably be reduced here in the next year?
That's on the primary side, Mayor.
Okay.
On the secondary side is dependent on secondary debt the obligations of the GO bond program. So the primary, which is what I was talking about for the operating budget, that's what I expect to go down by 5 cents.
Owner would notice a difference.
Well, the homeowner on the primary side, again, the AV is going to go up. So your assessed valuation is going to increase. We're dropping the rate, but we're going to levy more property tax as a function of your value going up.
I understand that.
So in moving forward with the bond program, some of the things that the council needs to take in consideration, as I just discussed, is the dollar amount of the bond program along with a property tax that's affordable to our taxpayers. The second thing, as you mentioned, was the scope of a bond program. Right now we've talked about public safety needs, but in the past our general obligation bond programs have also supported things like cultural facilities, parks, libraries, and even stormwater infrastructure. So the council would have to give us direction on the scope. Then, as Jeff Barnois points out to me, we would also need to identify funding sources for any additional operation and maintenance costs associated with new facilities or even expanded facilities. And then last, because this is approved by the voters, there has to be significant community outreach, which is really driven by bond committees, which Jeff will talk about.
So Mayor, members of the council, a bond program is a very heavy lift. There's a lot of work involved and a lot of expectations from the council as well as staff. To assist with that, the council, generally speaking, has appointed bond committees to kind of delegate some of those duties. Again, what that bond committee, there are a series of bond committees. Obviously, there's an executive committee, and then depending upon the size, scope, and complexity of that bond program, there can be a series of subcommittees to evaluate the individual programs. Ultimately, what those subcommittees are tasked with doing, and ultimately the executive committee are tasked with doing, aside from validating staff's work, are really to make a final recommendation to the council on which program should be included and which should not be included. And then, again, a successful bond program significantly leverages community participation and community involvement. That's also some place where the bond committees historically have played a significant role because they get the community excited about the new facilities that may be going in, the benefits that they get as citizens. So what I want to do now is kind of walk you through a conceptual schedule. So if we're talking about a November 20 election, we're well in advance of that. So we've got ample time to really do this justice and to really spend time getting into the details and getting a bond committee well versed on what it is we're looking at, as well as giving you an opportunity to make the decisions that Denise has just laid out for you. So the first item would be, again, to establish the amount, size, and scope of this bond program. So which programs are in, which programs are out? Do we go beyond public safety? Do we look at just rehabilitating existing facilities, or do we look at net new? When we talk about net new, we've also got to talk about how we fund the ongoing O&M. Again, we've got plenty of time to do that, but again, that's the first step. Second step is appointing that bond committee, right? And those, generally speaking, the thought process behind this is kind of akin to what we're talking about with census, right? You delegate some of these duties to help you kind of reach more people, to kind of get out there in the community and drum up support for this thing. And then, you know, the next step would be coordinating, that community engagement, because you want the public to know what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. Because, again, to be successful, to get it to pass, everyone needs to know why we're proposing what we're proposing. And again, what is the direct benefit to me as a citizen? And then finally, again, that bond committee is going to make recommendations to the council, again, to meet November 20 election, kind of backing up from there. I think those recommendations need to be made by the spring of 2020. So again, we're early, got a year to kind of get to that place. And then finally, the council needs to approve a form of the ballot. And that needs to be done, I'd say, in June of 2020. And then the bond election would be held in November of 20. So again, we're a good 18 months away from having to get all of these steps done, but I think you're well in advance and well prepared to do that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Milton.
So, Mayor, members of council, in conclusion, we believe that the public safety facility needs that we've identified over the series of dialogues that we've had with you are immediate. Waiting until 2028's financial capacity improves would mean that we would have gone 22 years with no new bond program. Additionally, if we were to choose to wait that long, the estimated project costs that we are giving you today would not be accurate. We should expect those costs to be much higher if we wait until 2028 to get started. We are in need of council policy direction to consider a potential bond program dealing with the amount of the program, the property tax policy implications, the scope of the bond program, the schedule, and the community input and bond committee structure that you may prefer. So at this point, Mayor, members of council, the team is ready to address any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I know we've been working on this for a long time, and I know all of you have put in a lot of hours and work on this. I understand we're early, but it is something that was a real priority, and I had said that up front. And it was not too difficult to identify some desperate needs that can't wait another 10 years, because even if we pass it in 20, by the time you start construction or have buildings actually livable, it will be 3 to 5 years after that. And if you can't build them all at once, I think if you are worried about continued hiring and staffing those, the truth is we keep growing, and you're going to need those people. So you better be able to accommodate them. So I'm hoping that today the council can consider moving this forward for further consideration and appointing not individuals today, but saying that we will go forth and establish a committee to further review and evaluate priorities. So, Sal, I think you had, Councilman DeSisto, sorry.
Thank you. No, Sal's fine. Just a couple things, if I could, Mayor, more of a comment of direction. One, I'm going to be supporting your proposal on this to move forward with the bond committee. But I completely agree with you on the need to focus on those things we have to get done. You know, police, fire, paying down some pension debt, roads, all those things are required. I know that there's always an incredible amount of needs out in any society, in any government. So I want to throw a proposal out, if you don't mind. That's something for us to look at, but now that I've got the majority of council here, I can legally talk. So I know we're talking about numbers, so I appreciate that too. So one of the things that I'm willing to do, and I'm just giving you a thought here, I'm willing to do things that I philosophically completely oppose. That is working on a tax increase and also working to support a transit line. So one of the things I've mentioned to some of the council members, so that I want to make sure I put it out there, is that I'm willing, and I didn't mention this to you, Mayor, but I'm even willing to extend that tax on the transit proposal that we have from 2030, I think it is, out to 2045. And the reason why is that's when our pension is really, our pension for police and fire is really going to hit a huge wall. So I just want to throw this out there. We have about $210 million per year. Remember, I don't philosophically agree with parts of this, but just a way to maybe do a compromise and find a way to make it work. We have about $210 million per year that comes in on the T2050, which is the transit money. We can't do everything. That's going to be really clear. We cannot accomplish everybody's goals. It isn't going to happen that way. But there is a way to possibly make this and make it fiscally responsible too. So what I would like to do is see some of those monies along with some bonding, which I would not like to have, but I would be willing to do that as well. So there's 3 areas that I normally wouldn't agree with that I'm willing to put on the table here that would allow us to focus on police, fire, and roads. So that would be police, hiring more police, you got your operational, and you got your capital at the same time, but you got to do both. If you don't do both, it doesn't work. Your operational can come from the operational monies of the T2050, which is the transit money that I've been talking about. The other part of it deals with the hiring more police, fire, whether paying down their pension debt. And the reason you want to pay down the police and fire pension debt is because it's so high right now and it frees up monies for other things long term. It's a fiscally responsible proposal. The other part of it would deal with the fact that anything that we do move forward, like I would never support a Prescott model, ever. What they did in the city of Prescott was ridiculous, okay, because they just threw money at it without creating fiscal controls on what it is that they were trying to pass. So everything would have to have the right fiscal controls. I don't know exactly what they would be, but I don't think it'll take me that long to figure out at least what I'd like to see in place to make sure that any monies just aren't used to be all of a sudden that, when political people get their hands on things, they want to hand it out to everybody, right? Be able to have controls that allows us to focus. But I would even vote for, and I'm cringing at these things, believe it or not, on the northwest line, I would vote to support that. If we took the other lines out of the play right now, this would all have to go to the ballot to do something like this, but I believe that there's a significant amount of monies already out there that allow us to focus on police, fire, paying down the pension debt, and at the same time improve our roads, Mayor. It may not accomplish everything under that model, but it will get us a long ways to get there. It will allow us to save some of the lines on transit. Believe me, I'm choking as I'm talking about some of this, especially when I'm talking about tax increases and extending a tax. I'm willing to go that far in order to help solve this problem, because I see a major wall about to hit the city of Phoenix. And we've got over $1.6 billion in the next 5 years to repair our roads. $1.6 billion just to bring them up to standard. That's our City of Phoenix report. And every year that goes by is 1 year that it becomes even worse. The police were down over, according to the police report that Chief Williams put together, I think we're down 500 in order to maximize the amount of police officers we need for our public. Fire, I can't remember how much we were down. I think it was over 100. I mean, these are big numbers, and we've got to be able to make tough decisions. So those tough decisions means that I'm willing to give in on some stuff if others are too. And if people don't, then we'll keep this battle going, and we'll do initiatives, and we'll do all that. But I think that there's a way to make this thing work if we all work it together, and I'm willing to do things I don't agree with. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Councilman Nowakowski?
Well, Mayor, as the Chair of the Public Safety, I really want to thank you for your leadership on this. When you walk in through our headquarters of the police headquarters, just right down the street here, it's embarrassing. It's really sad that, especially in the basement area, when you walk through after a storm or a rainstorm, I mean, there's an inch of water on the floor, and it's not right. We have areas where I actually asked to use the restroom, and there was actually a prisoner in the bathroom at the same time where civilians are allowed to walk. So, there's security issues with that. The way that the building was built 40 years ago or 40 plus years ago, it fit its purpose back then. But now, with all the new high tech and all the new advances, that the building's not equipped for that. The other thing that's missing here is the South Mountain Precinct. I don't see it on this list. I really like to, that's one of the things that we talked about. We took a tour, and that's one of our older precincts also that we need to add to that list. Some people might be saying, well, how about the Levine area and all these other areas that are growing? But we have what they call impact fees that helps out. So these bonds are really for the older facilities that there's not enough impact fees or fees that are coming in every time you buy a home or so. You have what you call impact fees that goes back into streets, sidewalk, lights, and facilities like this. So I just really want to thank you, Mayor. I'll support this, and I think that this is being a real visionary, looking into the future, and I think our men and women in uniform really deserve to have a place that they can call home and they feel comfortable and safe. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. And don't forget Chief Williams' office, too. It had sandbags and floaties there. In a previous presentation, back to what Councilman Avakowski was saying, the South Mountain Precinct was on there for remodel, not so much replacement, but it was remodel. I think it was $8 to $10 million. So, okay. So if we can just follow up on that, that would be great. Thank you.
Councilwoman?
Just as a question, if we form this bond committee, would that be one of the issues they would look at, is the other precincts and maybe placing some additional fire stations on there? Would that be at the discussion point?
I think we have a much longer list.
Yeah, I think we do.
And I asked for them to put a critical list together that we could consider today. But yes, I envision a bond committee, not only look at these, but some of the other items that's on the list, and determine priorities, and hopefully recommend an amount and go forward at this.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But I happen to have oh, I've got some cards. Sorry. Jim McPherson, are you still here? Okay. Donna Reiner, and then Athy Hart. And then Jenna, you're going to follow, so.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Donna Reiner. I'm wearing 2 big hats and a lot of little hats. So for some of you, we recognize that Maslow's hierarchy, we have our health and safety. It's down on the bottom. Well, for some of us who live in neighborhoods, we feel that we already have that health and safety. And I actually support having a bond for our public service employees in the fire and the police department. But we as a city are at a place because of some of those previous bonds. We do not want to backslide. So for me, other important things are the arts, particularly if you're dealing with capital improvement projects, there's the 1% for the arts. If you're going to put the arts, please make sure there is funds to support the maintenance of it for its in perpetuity, because that doesn't exist at this point. Then there's the HP hat. We've done wonderful things preserving lots of our buildings that would, let's just say, pre-World War II. But we have thousands and thousands of buildings that are post-World War II that need similar kinds of assistance that help them continue to stay. I'm just thinking with that brutalist building down there, what could we do to remodel it? Build up, build out, build under, well, except for the water. Then there's the libraries. I'm a library user. I go to almost 3 times a week. We need libraries, yes, open every single day, every library, all day, and actually later at night. And we need to have more employees. We need to have more books, maybe more e-books. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council, City Manager Zurich, and staff. I'm Athy Hart, and I am a member of the 2006 Bond Committee representing libraries. very supportive of public safety as well, but here to ask you not to forget the other important issues facing this city. We have library branches that were built in 1969 and have never expanded from their 10,000 feet and are trying to help serve young people that aren't open. We have 4 branches that are not open on Sundays, which is a real high-use time for kids, as you might imagine. So I'm kind of going into the budget part too, sorry. But we have facilities that are in great need of repair and replacement. We have a need for a new branch in Estrella, and we have impact fees for that, but we need more than that to build a branch. So I am just here to say, yes, public safety, it's important. We always have deferred to public safety. We are still not back to the pre-recession 2010 budget for libraries. So we understand that there have to be cuts and there have to be trims in recessions, but when there are good times, we also ought to think about the rest of those very important services that make a city great. Thank you.
Thank you. Jana? And then Judy Gills.
Hi, you know me as Jana Boomersbach, but really who I am is 21,556. Since 1988, that's my number for pledging to vote for bond issues in this community. You remember that Bud Jacobson issued a whole bunch of buttons, right? And I'm wearing the one that I've had since 1988. Felder, you were there. You had your own button.
I was the storm sewer queen
right?
that year.
Yes. And one of the reasons that this city is so fabulous is that we have done such magnificent things with bond programs. The 1988 bond program, I believe, is the largest cultural bond issue ever passed in the United States of America. It provided our new art museum, which I think you even did the first shovelful, didn't you, Thalda?
I think
when
so.
You were acting mayor then, too. You stick around a long time.
Anyway.
Right. So we're an all-American city. Councilman Nowakowski and I worked on the All-American City Committee together. The reason we're an all-American city is because of our cultural facilities, because of the incredible expansion we have for our entire city, the quality of life in our entire city. We're so happy with the plans that you have for the public safety facilities in this town because they are so unbelievably important. We just want to help you get those passed. And I will tell you that public safety and infrastructure issues, are very important, but they're not really sexy. And things like arts and libraries and parks and historical preservation and homeless and cultural facilities and neighborhood those kinds of facilities, those are the sexy things that will bring out the voters to help pass this bond issue. So I hope that when you think of the scope of this bond program that you're contemplating, that you will remember all of us and think about all the wonderful things that should be added to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Richard Diardi? And then Bill.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. My name is Richard De Uriarte. I live at 4521 North 19th Place in Phoenix. I just wanted to echo what my colleagues have talked about the opportunity that a bond issue offers to a new generation of enthusiasm and civic education and civic engagement beyond just the septuagenarians who are here. And it's an opportunity. It's like a campaign. It's where citizens learn about their city. They learn their issues, and not just public safety and fire, but all, and that great range of quality life issues that make a city great. It's also an opportunity to build enthusiasm and a sense of advancement, a sense of excitement that the cities have. And many of you remember 1988, 2006, when the city was so engaged. Another element is that in 2006, that bond issue was very, very much engaged and focused on the downtown and Arizona State University. There's a large city that has grown up around that, and to the extent they have not been touched, and as they could be. Finally, property taxes have been controversial ever since Lady Godiva mounted a horse. That's, of course, true. But looking at my property tax bill that I got the other day, City of Phoenix is really at maybe 15% of my tax bill. Think about the opportunity to do so much better and go back to those years where the city is really engaged. And that bond committee and the acknowledgement of staff will continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Bill Sheedle, 301 West Linwood Street, representing the Historic Preservation Commission, which I've served on for about 8 years. And I think I'm here to support the public safety bond, certainly. But echoing again some of the earlier comments, these bond programs have always been very broad-based and served real purposes. The cultural facilities from 1988 was a focus that brought the city together, ASU in downtown in 2006, which many of us were involved in. And we have new challenges in addition to public safety. For instance, sustainability is a major challenge going forward, and that's going to require a lot of infrastructure upgrades in every department. A bond program is an excellent way to start addressing those sorts of infrastructure improvements that need to be made. We've got drainage issues on South Mountain that need to be addressed. We have community centers that haven't been built and haven't been upgraded, that were built in 1965 or 1975. So all of the staff presentation was fantastic because everything that they talked about that related to public safety really applies to all of the other institutions as well. So I would applaud the bringing this forward, Mayor, because we, after 13 years now, have the opportunity to talk about the capital needs on a broad level, but we want to make sure that it is as broad as possible and really does serve to address all of the community needs that are out there, because things like parks, libraries, College Depot, arts are all part of what makes this not only a great city, but a safe city when we have good activities for our residents to participate in. Thank you.
Thank you. Couldn't agree more. So, okay, do we have a motion to move this forward and appoint a committee to begin the process?
Mayor, I'll so move that. And I'd be willing also to sit down with some of the members that spoke here today to talk about other bond issues, but I think we do need to move public safety forward today.
Okay.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Any further comments? We can just do voice vote, can't we? Voice vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Aye.
Oh. Councilwoman Pastor, did you want to make any comments? I am so sorry.
That's okay. I just voted. That's it.
Okay.
Sorry.
I don't ever remember you being that quiet, but thank you for being here and voting. Okay, I think that is all the business we have for today, and we are adjourned.